Welcome to the Reflection for Learning online series of mini webinars. Our focus today is on one of our favourites called body parts. Yes, body parts. For this activity, you as an educator, a facilitator, will need some body parts to share with your learners. So how are you going to achieve this? In real life, I have a bag full of body parts. I'm going to show them to you. So I will have a bag full and I will pull all of these out or students, the learners will pull them out and they will be allocated a different body part each. Learners enjoy the tactile sense of being able to hold such body parts. And they're lots of fun because you can squish them and play with them. So people like the tactile experience of using things like this. If you can't access these can be purchased commercially. You create your own kits. You can create in face-to-face scenarios postcards with images on them. In the online environment, we cannot use those. So we're going to need to use something else. So my suggestion for the online body parts is you could have images of body parts in something like Padlet to share with your students or learners. But I'm suggesting you simply have on your Zoom PowerPoint or whatever, what I've here, a diagram with the label body parts. And what I've done is I've numbered them. And then you allocate a number to everybody in your group. I've already done that with the current group today. Now, the advantage of this is that we can still do it online. And the beauty of this activity is it can focus on any concept, any issue, any topic you want. We focus on reflection for learning. That's what we're passionate about. You can be a scientist and ask students to focus on a concept that they're studying in their tutorials that week in science. It's hugely transferable and successful. So with my colleagues today, everybody has a body part and I've got this simple diagram and I'm going to ask the person who was allocated number 1, and that is the ear, to say something about what have they heard recently about reflection for learning that has impacted them. So number 1, please.
Well, I've heard a lot about reflection for learning recently. I think something that has impacted me has been the way in which people are adapting simple exercises to different contexts. I think the illustration that you provided was quite useful. This could be a great exercise for students in science courses as a good example. And the reason why this has impacted me is that when we think about these exercises that we've been working on, we imagine them within a particular context, but we can never fathom the myriad of ways that they are then actually evolved, adapted, and we then learn from that ourselves. We can reflect on our own practices further. So I find that quite valuable and interesting.
Thank you, Anne-Louise. Let's move to our learner number 2. I think that might be, is it Kate? And we've got a leg there or a foot. What's an idea about reflection for learning that you're going to walk away with into your own practice?
I'm currently developing some workshops for second year students, and something I've got to walk away with is the importance of scaffolding reflection for learning, and beginning with ways that students can actually understand the concepts and build on them, rather than just giving them a quite complex reflection at the end, which is often what we tend to do. So the scaffolding of reflection is something I'm going to walk away with.
Thank you. And I'd like to align that with using prompts such as body parts can be an excellent scaffold for reflective practice. Thank you, Kate. So our learner number 3 has a hand So what, again, so what's something they're going to grasp that they've learnt in terms of reflection for learning, and maybe even hand over to others?
Well, something I'm in the process of grasping is some of the challenges of scaffolding. Actually, I'm trying to scaffold some reasonably complicated or reflection processes, complicated in the sense that they depend on a whole bunch of prior learning. But I did a version of something that I thought people would find very accessible, and was shocked when I discovered some people really didn't. In other words, that having a clear enough grasp of the what's already within the competence of the people you're working with is actually not that straightforward, or may not be that straightforward. And in terms of handing over, I think I'd hand over the usefulness of that insight, which is that it's actually not that easy to work out where people are at unless you already know them well. And so it kind of sort of makes it an exploratory part of the process of doing reflection for learning.
Absolutely, it does. And that was a beautiful segue from scaffolding, because we need to know where our learners are with reflection in order to scaffold their ongoing development. Okay, thank you, Greg. So we've got learner number 4, Kath, with the chess. So anything that's taken your breath away or made you gasp when it comes to discussions and practices about reflection for learning?
Well, I think, and that segue of being aware of how often people treat reflection as being a superficial activity, something that we know we do it all the time, but often those deeper levels of reflection where people are trying to raise assumptions and think about their values and beliefs, they often are very challenged by that. And I often see that it's now used as a word that says, oh, we're going to reflect, but the processes aren't put there to help people do that. So it then becomes something that's almost tokenistic. And unless it's, I think, embedded well and scaffolded, so all the things that have just been talked about, unless that is done as a process, then I don't think we really get an understanding of what the learning that has come out of it is.
Absolutely agree. So thank you for using those body part prompts for your reflective practice. And this is just one way that you can adapt it to the online environment. All the details of the prompts for each body part are found in our practice guide, and you have the link for that here now on your screen, and also in the text associated with the video. Please experiment with these activities. We find that learners across all disciplines, ages, and interests enjoy the body parts. We hope you do too, and you will try out other activities as well. If you do try them out, let us know how it went. And here's our email to contact us. Thank you, everybody.